April 2024 marks a significant milestone as South Africa celebrates 30 years of democracy and the Gauteng Provincial Legislature's existence. In 1994, legislatures were established to make laws for provinces and hold provincial governments accountable for service delivery and the use of public funds. Committees of the legislature consider laws, monitor the work of provincial government departments, and make recommendations about the work of departments, including their structure, functioning, and policies. Meet the chairpersons.
Welcome back. We are in conversation with the chairperson of the Committee Subordinate Legislation, referred to as CSSL, Honorable Matshidiso Mfikoe. Thank you for making time to speak to the people of Gauteng. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thank you very much and for the opportunity. A bit about myself. I am Matshidiso Mfikoe, born and bred in Johannesburg. Have served as a councillor in the City of Johannesburg for 21 years. Then I went to Parliament for about 8 months. Then I was brought back to the legislature. Then, of course, we did the elections and I came back to the legislature. A teacher by profession, a student. I'm currently studying for my postgrad in public management, hoping that in the next 4 years I'll do my master's. Maybe if the park is still there, I'll go on for doctorate, but I'm hoping to stop by master's so that at least I can sit back, do my work without the stress and anxiety of exams.
Talk to us about the Committee on the Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, the workings of the CSSL.
The committee is supposed to scrutinize all subordinate legislation. And to give an example, if we want to actualize in a simpler form all the bills and the acts that are there, then the committee can be requested to develop regulations out of those bills. A case in point, a case that we're dealing with in the last 2 committee meetings was on the implementation of regulations that were done by the committee, passed by the legislature, on the safety of children during school trips. And that was given, the discussion and the analysis of the regulation was given birth by the fact that we've had a number of kids who drowned during school trips. And then we found that the committee has actually done the regulations. So we then called the department to explain to us what is the implementation, or are they implementing those regulations, and talking to principals about those regulations. Because what was my worry was that a principal was interviewed by one of the radio stations, and they asked her if there was any regulation that governs. And she said, no. And then when I was telling the team, they said, but Chair, those regulations are there. So we then called the department to explain. Then we learned that since last year, around October, November, we've actually lost about 6 learners. And the regulations were there. One is that the principals are aware, but they did not develop even policies to make it an implementable regulation. The second thing that the committee does is to regulate fees for the gambling board, for ambulances, and for hospitals. What we found is that the hospitals do not even tell patients about the fee. You meet the need to pay at the till point. But there is no signs that says to patients, you are going to pay this amount of money when you arrive at the tills. We also, I think if the institution utilizes the committee, we could give proper support to all committees in developing easily implementable regulation of all the bills that are there, especially the bills that are developed and approved by the legislature. The committee was promulgated as well, was given birth by an act that was passed in 2008 and amended in 2021.
And I just want to take you back to that Gauteng regulation on national and international tours for learners. and please correct me, this is for learners at public schools.
Yes.
I understand that the rule goes back to 2012.
Yes, it does. That was my shock when I learned that. I mean, I thought complaining about this principle, and the team said, no, but the regulations has been there from 2012. And that incident happened this year, around April, where those two boys from Ekure drowned. And we have a school principal who says she doesn't know. Then we decided out of that engagement to call the department. We will be going to the school as part of our own oversight that is called post-regulation process. So we'll go to the school. We want to take the Portfolio Committee on Education along because it is more their forte, so that all of us can assist in developing some way of an implementable method for the school to implement that, including engaging with SGPs, because these trips should be approved by the SGPs before they are actually approved by the principal. One thing that we learned in the engagement with the department, that trip that the two kids died on was not approved by the department or by the district. And the regulations are giving you the approval steps. The district need to approve the HOD. If the trips are within the region, like in Ekurhuleni, the district office must approve. Within the province and inter-province, the HOD must approve. Then kids that are lucky enough to go on international tours, the NEC must approve. So you find that those approval steps were not even followed, but they are there in those regulations. And there would be a problem in implementing because schools do not develop policies as per the regulation.
So in accepting that this regulation is from 2012, is there any intention to review it perhaps?
No, we've agreed with the department that they will need to state on the review. They did indicate that there are things that they learned out of the drownings that needs the regulations to be reviewed. So they must bring the suggested reviewing or reviewal points to the committee so that we infuse them after discussion, after making sure that the state lawyer looks at the legality of those amendments. Because whatever we do should be as per the Constitution and all other laws that govern the country.
You mentioned, that your committee does consider, regulations. Talk to us about the element of public participation in that process.
It's an important part. Remember, the legislature's backbone is public participation. So after the regulations have been presented through the speaker to the committee, we look at the legality, we look at what needs to be done. Then we do call for public participation, because whatever we do is not for our own consumption, but it is for the consumption of our communities. It's them that must pay at the hospital. It's them that must pay those who are gambling when they go to our casinos and. So we need to inform, engage, and they must guide the input. Of course, whatever guidance that they would give should be within the legal parameters of all the things that we do in the province and in the country. So public participation is an important, it's what is our pulse. In fact, if we don't do public participation, then we will not be doing what the legislature is expected to do.
And I also appreciate that one of the major functions of your committee is post-legislative scrutiny. Take us through the process. What does it entail?
It's more oversight, going out to sites that we are doing the regulations for. Post-scrutiny on the act for tours, school tours, is going to the schools. We've agreed with the team that we'll go to the school where the two boys drowned. Then we'll sample other schools that did not necessarily have the trip, so that we see if they do have knowledge of the regulations, whether they've developed policies that are aligned to the regulations, and if they're going on the trip, do they implement those regulations? Already we know that one school did not implement, does not know the regulations. So we are just going there to see what happened after the drownings. Then the other ones will sample just to see. Then we'll come back to our own report, share with the department, and take to the legislature for noting and approval as well. So that if if there's a need for review, then we will include in that a post-scrutiny report that we are going to take to the legislature So it's oversight going out on our side. So I cannot on appella, we must call it different.
Yes.
Post-scrutiny.
Yes, I hear you.
Not oversight.
I hear you. Just in general terms about public participation, are you finding that enough citizens of Gauteng are heeding the call when there are public participation calls? Do they participate, give input, or you feel it could be better?
It could be better. I think our people are not necessarily taking public participation serious. It will come as a complaint when they see things happening. You know, I mean, I've participated in other committees and there have been a lot of public participation programs. But you find, and I was raising it in the meeting that we have now, that you find Matshidiso in all public participation meetings of different committees. You know, so we just need to be able to identify relevant stakeholders, invite relevant stakeholders to participate on a particular subject matter, not one person crisscrossing the province on all the public engagements that we have. So that's why I believe that we could do better. We have to do better. Because if we don't get relevant stakeholders, we will definitely take wrong decisions that are not benefiting their particular stakeholders that the public participation program at the time seeks to reach out to.
Is it perhaps not how the call is put out, how the invitation is sent out to citizens?
Could be, could not be as well, could be of a community that is usually spoon-fed. Because I think sometimes, because the notices will come out on the legislature, Twitter, Facebook, I see they even have an Instagram account. Maybe we could add newspaper adverts, but I mean, newspapers are online these days, sure. But I guess we could add them, we could maybe do some, I believe that if we use community radios as well, you know, it will reach it will have a far reach of your residents. So we just need to add 3-4 other means of communication to what we currently have. To
augment the system that you currently have. The chairperson of the Committee on Scrutiny of Subordinate Legislation, CSSL, Honorable Matshidiso Mfikoe, when your tenure comes to an end, what sort of legacy do you want first, you as the chairperson to have left, and that of your committee?
I would want to leave a legacy where people understand what is the committee about. Because as I said, even the institution, I don't think we understand what is it about. And I would like to have a legacy that says people are now participating in lawmaking in Gauteng, you know, so that all of us collectively as politicians and the community can take responsibility and ownership of all the acts, regulations that we would have promulgated. You know, so more and more participation, more and more engagement. For me, that's that. You know, any other thing comes secondary. You know, but know that we are there to serve. You are there to hold us accountable. And the only way to holding us accountable is through engagement. And that is the cornerstone of public participation.
Thank you for taking time to speak to the people of Gauteng. I'm quite confident that your legacy will be realized.
I hope so. But thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. It's very good.